Greetings, Emmett here from ReadingforWisdom.com. Since the beginning of the written word, since the beginning of history, and probably before that, mankind has been thinking about power. Power and who should rule, how should they rule, how should a person obtain power, wield power, maintain power. All the great books in history, the Iliad, the Odyssey, the Epic of Gilgamesh, even the Bible, are full of these tales. Politics is about power. Power is about people, and people are personalities. That's the message in today's book, The Anatomy of Power by James Margach. This is a great read, a very short work, but a real primer from a person who studied power at first hand. Margach was a journalist for over 45 years in the British Parliament. He covered the rule of 12 different Prime Ministers, from Ramsay MacDonald right up to James Callaghan. He died, unfortunately, before he got to see the reign of Margaret Thatcher, but she is featured in this book. And Margach, through his work for the Sunday Times, became quite intimate with a lot of these prime ministers. So he speaks from the heart of power, and he witnessed power, especially in the days when the British Parliament was the seat of power in the world. And the British Empire in the 30s and the 40s and even into the 1950s spanned the globe, and the British Empire and the British Parliament was a much more vibrant place, a much more central place of power than it is today. And in the book, Margach looks at some of the key characteristics of prime ministers. Ambition, for a start. He uses great stories from his long career to illustrate the key role that ambition plays in personality. Also, courage, the strength of character. Stamina is a very, very important aspect in the book. But one of the key areas he talks about is ruthlessness. So let's see what Margach has to say about ruthlessness. Finally, one must pay great respect to the opinion of experts, top ministers who have served in many cabinets under different prime ministers, and permanent secretaries who have dealt with the great men whose public masks have been left in the outer office. They place ruthlessness at or near the top of the league. In their judgment, great leaders must be ruthless in reaching decisions and dealing with colleagues, however dear or close, after they have grabbed all the levers of power. This is the indispensable hardening ingredient for character. A great leader must never be squeamish at the sight of blood, other people's blood, when he reaches the top of Disraeli's greasy pole. Heady stuff, long pedigree going back to Machiavelli. So these areas, ambition, courage, character, stamina, ruthlessness, are all the qualities that are needed after a person has secured the role of Prime Minister. But what Margach says, echoing some earlier thoughts by Niccolo Machiavelli, was that the key thing to become a Prime Minister was luck. The role of luck in the careers of the 12 Prime Ministers featured in this book is told again through a range of stories and anecdotes from Margach's career. Some of the notable chapters in this book include a section on the pathology of power. And one of the most fascinating, eye-opening things in Margach's book is how power sickened so many of these people. It broke them, it broke their bodies down, their effect on their minds, the pathology of power, how it ages people rapidly. We can see that in photographs, for example, of some recent US presidents. See how they looked when they got to office, and see how they look at the end of their 2 terms. Frightening. Another key section in the book is on the lobby. Now, this was quite an eye-opener when this book was released in 1979, just before, unfortunately, Margach's death. And the lobby details the relationship between the established press and the politicians, the relationship between individual journalists and ministers. A really entertaining read, a really fascinating read, a real insight. This was a big hit when it came out in 1979 and got some rave reviews. I remember reading it in the early 80s and captivated. I've read this book many times since. However, one little thing I'd like to point out, and this is about the fallacy that everything is on the internet. Search James Margach and you won't find an awful lot of reference to him, but here is his book. Buy it through our channel. If you like this program, if you like the type of books that we're reviewing, please do subscribe or give us a like. Do come over to readingforwisdom.com, where there's a lot more material to entertain, to fascinate and to inform.